Hello, welcome to Monday's Hotline Live at Record Sport. My name is Daniel Caw. I'm delighted tonight to be joined by the Hotline Live Dream Team. Keith Jackson. Keith, how's it going?
Yeah, yeah, right.
Harassed as usual.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just taking phone calls there as the titles were going on and all that. But yeah. It's relating to stuff that we need to talk about anyway, Daniel. So, yeah, fire away. All good. I'm present. I'm in the room.
We're also joined as well, of course, by the one and only Scott McDermott. Scott, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you? All right?
I'm very good, thanks.
Good.
We're actually, keen viewers will see we're a minute or two late because Keith always on the ball, taking calls and that right up to the hotline start.
Sorry. Apologies.
No, it's all part of the job, innit? And we will talk about that a little bit later on. But should we start with more fallout from yesterday's game? Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Why
Listen,
not?
well, obviously the reason for the delay is to do with that there's a story breaking. We'll come back to once we've talked about the game. But a possible link between Celtic and Mark van Bommel. And that was me just getting a phone call from Holland. So we can go into that later. But yeah, charge on, Doug.
Well, the one thing I wanted to bring up first of all is the news that the SFA, Willie Collum, we expect them to explain the Austin Trusty, I guess, yellow card yesterday. A lot of people think it should have been a red. What do you make of that, Scott?
I'm not surprised, Daniel. I mean, he obviously does his VAR show every month on YouTube, I think it is. So there's no doubt they'll look back at the the incidents for the game yesterday, and there were a few. I think Willie Collum will probably phone Danny Rowe and apologise for the Trusty incident, because he's done that in the past with managers this season. I think that when there's been a kind of glaring mistake for the officials. So I'd be surprised if there wasn't a call. And I know Rangers said last night, this thing about seeking an explanation from the SFA. It seems to be the kind of done thing these days. Rangers have done it quite often. I don't really know what the point of that is, other than kind of pandering to the supporters. Supporters are obviously angry, so the club need to be kind of seen to be doing something. But I think it will just be an apology, probably from Willie Collum about the decision. And then I'm sure in the VAR show, well, I'll be amazed if he doesn't. I'm sure in the VAR show he'll say that the referee got it wrong. VAR certainly got it wrong, because they should have at least asked Nick Walsh to go and have a look at it. But in the grand scheme of things, what does that actually do? Does it make Rangers feel any better? Make the fans feel any better? Probably makes them feel worse when they get an acceptance from the SFA or for Willie Collum that a big decision in a big game, they've got it wrong. So, that's
if you're taking it as read that it was the wrong decision. I mean, we had Des Roach on last night, Scott. Didn't seem convinced. In fact, he started from a position of the booking was the right decision, and kind of wobbled a bit, got to a point where he said, well, yeah, I couldn't have argued against a red card, and then kind of doubled down on his previous. It's a bit all over the shop. So,
well,
it's not everybody is looking at that and saying that's a red card, Scott.
No, I'm surprised that an ex-ref like Des, who I've got a lot of respect for, now thinks that kicking an opponent in the head is accepted in the football pitch. It's just part of the game. Just another yellow card challenge. That you'd get away with in the middle of the park. I'm baffled by that, I must admit. I said last night after the game, I think when we were at the game, at first glance, you just think there's no much in it. The Trusty and Butland kind of challenge, I think it's a kind of coming together. You think if the ball's there to be won and Trusty's went for it and he's maybe caught him, fine, it's a yellow card, but it's a normal football challenge, football incident that you get in games. But that wasn't normal. I mean, that was, first of all, the delay, that kind of 2-3 second delay where Butland's got the ball in his hands, and then Trusty decides that he's going to flip the leg out and have a sly kick at him. But also,
I think it was 2 or 3 seconds, Scott.
2 seconds?
2 or 3 seconds in slow motion, maybe. I think it all happened a great deal quicker than slow motion. It certainly wasn't too. But
No, but
I
but
let you
it
have
has-
I let you have got a problem with emotion. There's no need for
Yeah.
his leg to go there. There's no reason for his foot to go where it did, and it
100%.
looked like a deliberate act to me. I agree with that.
100%. And also, Jacko, I think the telling thing, having watched it now several times, is Austin Trusty's reaction. I think he knows immediately that he's had a rush of blood to the head, and he's immediately apologising and trying to
Put the
proclaim
hands
his
down.
innocence, saying, I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it. He knew instantly that he'd caught Jack Butland, and he knew how bad it would have looked, because he clearly knew that the keeper had the ball in his hands. So look, you're right. I mean, I've heard people arguing, saying, there's not enough force, there's no brutality there, excessive force, whatever the phrase might be. But I think the vast majority of people would accept that it was very unusual. It was a rush of blood to the head for Trusty. Even listening to the pundits on the TV yesterday, Neil Lennon, Charlie Mulgrew, I think it was Stephen Davis. I mean, they all were convinced it was a red card. So he's a lucky boy. So listen, maybe Willie Collum doesn't agree with that, but given some of the incidents that have happened this season, the ones that they've got wrong, I'd be surprised if there's no a phone call there and a kind of holding of the hands up to say, look, we got that wrong. But as I say,
I think
that really good.
I think the interesting bit is going to be releasing the audio, not just on that decision, but on the other key moments in the game. You need to, in order to get the proper context, you need to hear what's being said by whom at what moment. Because I thought what was really interesting about the conversation with Des last night is I think he's absolutely right. In a situation like that, VAR seems to be out reffing the ref. Surely VAR's job at that point, and I think it was Andrew Dallas was VAR. I can't remember who his assistant was, but in that situation, surely they've got to defer to the actual match official and say, you might want to go and look at that on the screen.
Yeah.
And this, and I think that is becoming a major problem now. That they have appointed guys like Andrew Dallas who's sees himself as chief VAR operator, and I wonder if it's getting to the point that he thinks everything that he says goes, because that's not really what the intention of VAR was. The intention of VAR was, did the ref see that properly? If you don't think that you saw it properly, just send him over to the screen and let him make a decision. It's not your job to sit there in a studio someplace deciding how to referee the match. That's a worry. And I think that's a real concern where our use of VAR or misuse of VAR is concerned right now. And I think the same thing applies to the Ralston penalty. Absolutely the same thing applies. That the guys in the studio seem to have looked at that and said, yep. And if it is factual, and if it's a shot, it's on target, and it hits an arm of a defender, that's a penalty kick. Well, then there is no grey area, I suppose, and maybe that one's right. But again, we need to hear the audio here before you can actually really decide if you think these guys are botching the job or not.
You're right. And it's the inconsistency, Jack. I know that word gets mentioned all the time, but it's true. And look, this isn't I'm not sitting here saying, look, first of all, Celtic deserved to win the game yesterday, 100%. Right? Need to make that clear. Rangers were so poor in the first half. Celtic were the better team and deserved to go through. And listen, I think there was other decisions that Nick Walsh got wrong, and I can understand why I see a lot of Celtic fans today calling for saying Cornelius might have warranted a red card for the challenge on Kenny as well. I can see an argument for that. I don't think it's cut and dry, but there's an argument there. But it's the inconsistency. You're talking about the audio. I mean, I watched a clip this morning, and albeit it was last season, so we don't know what's been said in the summer in terms of changes that Willie Collum's made or whatever. But Nick Walsh sending Diomande off at Tannadice last season for grazing a Dundee United player's face as he get pushed away, and he was actually called to the monitor. I think it was Don Robertson that they called to the monitor to say, look, we don't think there's enough in this, don't think there's excessive force. Yet Nick Walsh
his guns.
He was adamant that day that there was excessive force, and yet fast forward to yesterday, and he's telling James Tavernier after the incident that the reason why Trusty isn't a red card is because there's no excessive force, when clearly there was a lot more in that than there was in the Diomande one. So it's the inconsistency that drives fans up the wall. And as I say, I don't know whether things have changed in the summer, but it's certainly very different.
That, Scott, isn't just inconsistency. I remember obviously the incident at Tannadice, and I remember what my feeling was at the time, and what I think I said on the show, is that another way to misuse VAR is for a referee to use it to vindicate his decision purely on the basis of seeing what he wants to see. And that's what I felt happened at Tannadice that day. That, you know, in spite of the evidence that was in front of his face, he saw just enough to say, I can get away with this. I was right. It proves my point, proves my decision was correct. And you wonder a little bit if because that's a misuse. That's not what it's there to do. It's there to give you the opportunity to see things more clearly, things that you might not have seen properly with your own eyes in the heat of the moment. It's not there to be used to say, yep, well, there's just about enough there for me to say that was the right call. No, that's not it. And I thought I'd hoped that we were getting into a position with VAR in Scottish football that it was improving, or use of the technology was improving, getting better, and the decisions were ultimately, you know, more based in fact and good decision making. I fear that for whatever reason over the last, I don't know, 12 months, it seems to be going slightly haywire again. And if anything, it feels to me as if the whole thing, when I thought we were getting used to it and getting better at it, I think we're in a state of regression right now with the way that we're using VAR, and that drops at Willie Collumstone.
Exactly. Even just quickly taking away for the Old Firm, you look at that decision in the St Mirren Hearts game.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just terrible officiating, and that's, as I say, VAR should be helping us, making the game better, getting more decisions right. It seems to be going the other way, and you need to put that down to ultimately, the incompetence of the officials. And I honestly, I always try and kind of back refs. I know how hard a job it is, and VAR's meant to be helping them. I'm not sure if it is helping them. I'm not sure if it was actually an easier job for them when they didn't have VAR, because there's so many talking points and controversies now. There's a lot of uncertainty, I think, within officials, whether that's on the pitch or in the VAR room. And I don't know, it feels like there's been a lot of, I'm talking about Willie Collum coming out and apologising, holding their hands up. It feels like there's been a lot of that in the last year or so. And I know he keeps saying, and listen, I like the way he comes out in the VAR show, and I think he's honest, and I think it's refreshing the way he talks about incidents and decisions. I think we need that. But he keeps saying they're going to learn from it. Lessons will be learned. The officials will get better. They're coaching them. They're training them. I'm just not seeing that improvement, I must admit, certainly in the last 12 to 18 months.
And that's the critical part, Daniel, because if you keep on having to do it, and this was always the worry that referees had about speaking after games, explaining decisions. Many people thought it was a good idea. Some referees thought it was a good idea, but I think there was the consensus feeling, yeah, well, that's fine in principle. If a ref comes out one week and says, guys, sorry, hands up, I'm mortified by that one. See if the same guy comes out the next week, and a week after that, and a week after that, and he's keep having to do it, then what you're doing there is undermining whatever credibility that these guys have got. Willie Collum is in charge of the referees. He's effectively a referee's coach. He's coaching these guys in use of VAR, decision making, but it's not getting any better. If anything, it's getting worse. And that, in much the same fashion, starts to strike back at Willie Collum's own credibility. Because if he's in charge of coaching them, he doesn't appear to be doing that very well. There seems to be more confusion now than there was. And some of the things that he talked about before the season began, we were in at Hampden and he was talking through, these are things to look out for, things we'll improve on. I've seen no evidence. And that is a concern.
As you guys can probably imagine, We're getting a ton of comments sitting in on this, and if you're watching at home, you want to get involved, please let us know what you thought of yesterday's game, the refereeing decisions, of course. Bear with me, guys. I've got a few to get through here, so as I say, bear with me. Rangers, easy okay. Fed up with these 50-50 calls going against us in this fixture. Celtic over the piece deserved it, but can't help but feel could have been different 10v10. Actually speaking, the lads, I go to the games. Sorry, he's been cut off there. Marzuno says, Rangers do this every time, obsess over one debatable decision. Andy insists Butland headbutted Trusty's foot, should have been a penalty for Celtic. Sean says Des, the resident referee, said yesterday he thought it was a yellow. Dennis, Rangers fan, is furious. He says that Wall should be stood down, and he also says Trusty should be charged with violent conduct. The apologies are too late. The damage is done. Mark insists, geez, Trusty was stupid, no doubt, but the way they are going on, you would think he decapitated him. Ross, though, says, why Trusty not went to VR is unacceptable. No wonder Scottish referees don't make it to the big European competitions. Gianni says both teams should have ended with 9 men. Ralston knew what he was doing. Don't let him pull the wool over your eyes, Keith, in your old age. And this one as well. I'm glad this one's been brought up. This instant. Davey says Maeda offside a disgrace. Ian says the Maeda offside was questionable even with VAR. The first goal was not offside from Chris. Gary says the same. He asked about the Cornelius tackle. And I said this in yesterday's show, Keith, when I saw it, I thought I don't think that's offside.
We're talking about the offside, not the Cornelius tackle.
Aye. Just thought there's a lot of people mentioning offside.
Look, they drew the lines on it, and unless we're actually accusing them of deliberately drawing wonky lines, I can't buy that. The subjective stuff, the stuff that requires decision making. Happy to have debates about that.
Aye,
but I think where the technology is there and it's been bought and paid for, and presuming that these guys know how to draw a straight line, I don't think we can question what is presented to you as actual factual evidence. It's the stuff where decision making and subjectivity comes in. That's where the real grey areas are. So, if the line says Maeda was offside, it's clearly marginal, to the point of being, almost minimal. But it is what it is. It's the same as pregnant. You can't be slightly pregnant. You're offside, you're onside.
Aye, and
so
just to clarify as well, I am not for a second accusing them of deliberately drawing wonky lines. It's more.
There does seem to be a suggestion of jiggery pokery here.
But no, it kind of goes back to what you're saying, Scott. Like, see, with VAR, it's supposed to make things easier, clearer, and see, not just Maeda's yesterday, you see it all the time now. A player called offside for, as you say, Keith, a toenail, an eyelash. That's not what offside's for, and it's not in the spirit of the game.
So we're even arguing over the decisions that are supposed to be inarguable. No, really black and white decisions.
Exactly.
You can't get them wrong. You just can't get them wrong. But people still think it's wrong. So
that's fair.
It just adds to the confusion.
Aye, that's fair. The one other thing, guys, that I wanted to get your take on, obviously we get a lot of live comments, but a lot of comments on Facebook as well. Nico Raskin taking a lot of stick, Scott, in the comments, which I was really surprised by. Thomas says, Raskin, anonymous again. Fans hated Martin so much that it seems to have given Raskin a free pass. Not as good as he thinks he is. Ryan says, excluding the Hibs game, Raskin has been rotten this season. Nowhere near the level a lot of fans think he is. Norman says, Raskin makes it look easy for Belgium, but doesn't bother his backside for us. We should cash in before he develops a problem with Rowe. And David says, it looks like Raskin has well and truly chucked it. Get Cameron or Barron and head him every week until the end of the season. Did you see that yesterday?
Not so much yesterday. I think Raskin has been poor the last few weeks for Rangers, but I must admit yesterday, every Rangers player I thought was miles off it in the first half. Yesterday, I did feel slightly sorry for Raskin and Diomande, because in against that Celtic midfield three, the whole point of that Rangers system, this 3-4-2-1, is that Asgard and Danilo, when you've not got the ball, tuck in and congest the middle of the park. I don't think they did that enough. I thought Raskin and Diomande were a bit exposed, and it also didn't help that Celtic were so on top of them. Rangers ended up so deep into a back five. It was really difficult for them to get a grip of the game. However, I thought in the second half, obviously Danny Rule changed it, even with 10 men. I need to give Raskin a bit of credit, because I thought along with Diomande and Tavernier, they were the three real driving forces for getting Rangers back into the game. And it wasn't anything, no, it wasn't, I don't think it was anything special tactically. I just think, no, it was the basics. They ran more, they chased more, they harried more, no, they got into better positions, they offered for the ball more, they were braver. So I thought Raskin was good in the second half. And as I said to you after the game yesterday, I thought him going off at the end of the 90 was actually a blow to Rangers. And I think that was proven in extra time, where they get, I know they were tired, but they get run over the top of really the Celtic kind of took command of the game again.
I was mystified by that substitution, Scott, and that's what I said to you. Was he injured? Mystified. I'm mystified by some of these comments as well, because Raskin is by far and away Rangers' best bet in the centre of the pitch. There's just no doubt about it.
In fairness, Marzino does say, in fairness, Raskin did have a perfectly good goal disallowed.
Yeah.
It was some finish.
I don't think he knows too much about that, did he?
I think there is a narrative. I think there is a narrative, Jacko, Daniel, just that I think a lot of people feel Raskin's maybe working his ticket, just with everything that happened with Russell Martin. There's a lot of chat about whether Rangers might cash in January. Obviously, there's a World Cup coming up. He wants to be part of that Belgium squad. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him in January. I mean, I agree with Jacko. I still think if you're talking about central midfielders and you're looking at that squad, he's still the best I've got. Whatever you think of him, whatever you think his recent form, he's still the best I've got. And they're kind of toiling in that department. I've said on here a few times now, in January, one of the big positions I think they need to fill is a proper sitting midfielder, a physical, commanding central midfielder. I think they've lacked that for 2, 3, 4 years now. So it's an area they need to strengthen. But I think there is a question mark over whether Raskin, or how long Raskin will be there for. And I just think fans are maybe jumping on it. As I say, his form hasn't been great the last few weeks. There might just be a feeling, is this guy working his ticket? No, because he wants to get out. But as I say, I don't think you could label that at him yesterday. I thought in the second half he was good.
See, just to round up on yesterday's game, because we're getting tons of comments, people asking us to investigate and talk about absolutely everything. But Rebel says, Keith, loads of wrong decisions. At the end of the day, the better team won. Do we agree with that? Celtic deserve to win?
Yes, we do. 100%. Yep. Scott's already said it. Celtic came racing out the blocks, and I think they were encouraged to do that by some of the early jittery type of stuff that Rangers were doing, particularly across the back line. I thought Giga, as we said, was an absolute bag of nerves. And I think there were Celtic players out there that saw it, sensed it, and thought, we need to get right on top of these, because they don't look, especially Giga looked so, I don't know if it was slack or casual or nerves or whatever it was, but I think Celtic on the pitch realised there was an opportunity to be really aggressive and get right at Rangers in those opening minutes. And they went on to dominate the entire first half. Yes, Rangers created chances, even although they were getting dominated out there, and big chances as well. Chances, 2 of which Chermiti has got to score. My reading of it was that Giga caused a problem defensively, and Chermiti caused a major problem in terms of Rangers trying to get up the park. And Chermiti was also detailed with the very difficult job of trying to keep Callum McGregor quiet and stay on top of him. And I've got to tell you, I looked at some of the runs that he almost made to try and shut Callum McGregor down. I thought, you're one of these. That's one of those runs where you look around and say, look, I tried. I thought he lacked real conviction. I thought he was lacking in effort. And you know something? You can almost justify that for a central striker, because they're kind of selfish in their very nature. Strikers, aren't they? They're out there to score goals. That's what they want to do. Do I want to do this running about? Should I be shutting him down? Well, that's fine. That is absolutely fine, as long as when the 2 chances that drop your way, gilt-edged chances, you bury them. Mm-hmm. And he didn't do that either. So there's no case for the defence for Chermiti. And I actually thought, if I was Danny Rowe, I would have been looking at changing the 2 of them at half-time. I was surprised that both of them came out. I was surprised that it was Danilo that came off the pitch. Although I will say that Rangers played better in the second half. Celtic were so far on top of them. And I think if you're being realistic, so I'm talking about Jermaine missing chances, Celtic missed big chances. I think nobody could have argued if that game had ended 7-4 to Celtic. Nobody could have argued.
Rangers,
and that would have probably been a fair reflection on the match itself.
Rangers weren't clinical enough in either box, Daniel. And by that, I mean, even the first goal, Jaden McGoma just completely loses Johnny Kenny for the header. No strong enough. Out-muscled at the near post. No, doesn't even jump.
Brilliant header, by the way.
Oh, great header. First half. Even going to the third goal, it might be a bit harsh, but Cornelius can see Osmond in front of him. I mean, he actually runs with him to a certain point, and then as the ball goes in, he just leaves him and lets him go. And so that's not been clinical enough defensively, which I think cost them. And as Jacko said, certainly not clinical enough going the other way. No, Shamite, 2 big chances. Gassama, 2 big chances, 1-on-1 with the keeper. Raskin, 1-on-1 with the keeper. He's got to do better in the first half with the finish. So that's a big problem for Rangers. I mean, me and Andy were speaking about it this morning in the podcast. I mean, Rangers have spent, 8, 4.5, 12.5, and then 5 for Danilo. You're talking, I know Danilo was a previous regime. You're talking about 17.5 million worth of striker out there on the pitch on Sunday. And they toiled big time. No, Majovski, Shamite, Danilo. Celtic go and win the game with 2 strikers that cost 10 bob between them. Do you know what I mean? So that's a big difference.
It's a fair point. And to be clear, I asked that just because I do think Celtic were better in the first half, better in extra time, but there was that period leading up to the penalty. I thought they're going to win this year. I thought when they scored, I thought Rangers were going to go on and win it.
There was momentum swings.
Aye.
There were wild swings in the momentum of that match, which made it such an enjoyable watch. But I think anybody looking at it properly would say over the course of the 120 minutes, Celtic had more of those swings in their favour. They were the stronger side for longer periods. Rangers really got about their work really well in the second half, I thought. And I've given Danny Roll a bit of credit for that, because rather than just try and sit tight and hope to snatch an equaliser and defend the box against, you're playing 10 against 11, they didn't do that. They were more aggressive, far more aggressive than you would have seen with Russell Martin on the sidelines. These are big ticks in the box for Danny Roll. I'm not entirely sure about the substitutions. I keep coming back to that decision to take Raskin off and put James Tavernier into the centre of midfield for extra time. That just seemed crazy to me. And I think somebody nicknamed him Testimonial Joe Rothwell then comes onto the pitch. I don't know what he offered. Why he took Raskin off, unless, Scott, this is why I said to you I was very interested to find out if he'd picked up an injury. I don't think so. And I don't think, judging by what we've seen in the past from Nico Raskin, that conditioning or fitness is an issue either. He'd be one of the last ones to go down with cramp, despite the enormous areas of the pitch that he covers. So, yeah, Chermiti staying on, Giga staying on. I think that Danny Roll, the overall consensus from a Rangers perspective is they've got a manager that wants to play with more purpose and more intent and more aggression. That's all good. I still think there are decisions getting made there that are strange and probably need to be explained. From a Celtic perspective, they've got a shot in the arm from the arrival of Martin O'Neill. A club that everything was feeling a bit stale and a bit broken and a bit fractured around about Celtic, whether it was relationships in the dressing room, with the manager, with the boardroom, with the fans. And he's just arrived like a galvanising figure, hasn't he? He's jumped out the DeLorean, he's left Scots marks right across the centre of the pitch at Hampden, and he's taken Celtic fans back to a happier place in time. 20 years, 25 years ago. And I think it's a good fit right now, right in the here and the now. Who knows how much longer it goes on for? But you're starting to suspect this might be a fit that works for a period of time longer than just the 2 or 3 weeks that people expected it to be in the first instance. But who knows? That all depends on the hunt for the manager. In terms of what Celtic have achieved, they've won a derby that mattered, and that is going to be the accusation which is pointed across the city. They've had some successes in the fixture, but it's hard to remember the last time they won one that was of real significance, that mattered in terms of the destination of silverware. So Celtic have kept that. I think they've looked re-energised. I think the players look as if they're enjoying it. I don't know how bad things had gotten in terms of the relationship with Brendan Rodgers, the Honda Civic stuff and all this. But listen, they are really short in various positions across the side. And that is the result of the transfer window. And that is the transfer window that's caused the problems that have arrived us all at this point. And these are still issues that, Martin O'Neill can be the brightest guy in the room, but he can't fix this without reinforcements. So Celtic have still got issues, but I think this last week or so has been a really good sort of crossroads moment for Celtic, and you feel that the club is starting to move back in a more positive direction.
Jacko,
to use another car analogy.
Just quickly, ironically, see what you're saying there. I totally agree. You can actually say the same about Danny Rowe and Rangers. No, he is paying the price, I think, for some really poor recruitment this summer. And Rangers did go and spend money, but he's inherited a squad of players that have to produce so much more. There are so many guys there who were signed in the summer. I don't think he can rely on. No, you mentioned Rothwell, he's one of them. You think Antman, Fernandez, Asgard, a lot of these guys, Giga we talked about, Magoma. I don't think he can rely on a lot of these guys. I agree with you. I think there's good signs there with Danny Rowe as a coach and as a manager. Even he's only been in the job a fortnight. I think there's enough there that the fans are seeing something. I think the players are seeing something. Listening to them sounds as if they're buying into him. It looks as if they might have made a good appointment with this manager, but I feel for him with the squad of players that he's got to work with. And that's
I also think
January's going to be so interesting.
I also think, Scott, that he can't continue to benefit indefinitely from the fact that he's not Russell Martin, because I think that's why there is a lot of goodwill there. Rangers fans want this to work, and they're delighted that they don't have Russell Martin anymore. But not being Russell Martin isn't going to sustain him. He's going to have to show that Danny Rowe is worth sticking by and capable of making good decisions in big moments. And I think there's an element of doubt walking away from that match at the weekend with regards to that. I tell you what, though, in terms of recruitment, I do think it's worth mentioning, because it didn't get much of a mention yesterday. Mikey Moore, who looked so out his depth under Russell Martin, who looked absolutely miserable every time he walked onto a football pitch, by the way. What a difference I've seen in him.
Aye, he was really good yesterday.
And I thought he made a real impact in that game. And you'd been looking at him thinking, this is just a kid who isn't ready for this, who is struggling with the environment and the intensity. And then he goes and plays like that. And you wonder if that's again another tick in Danny Rowe's box, that he's able to deploy him in areas of the pitch and let him play the way that he wants to play, and when quite clearly that wasn't happening under the last manager. But listen, nobody gets a free pass. I think that Celtic come out of this feeling really good about themselves again. The fans are at a far better place than they were, and I think Martin O'Neill is eyeing up the potential to take this job on for, whether it's to the end of the season, who knows? But I think he quite likes the idea of it, and I know that he's going to go into chats with Dermot Desmond, and specifically it'll be about these things. They do need to redress the balance in the squad. Be interesting to see how much can get done in January. But there are issues which need to be solved. Rangers the exact same. Hearts, meanwhile, sitting rubbing their hands. 9 points clear with the lead grown.
Absolutely. Time is getting away from us, guys, but Natalie in the comments is one of a few people asking about the Celtic manager. I know we've just touched on it there, obviously, with Martin O'Neill, Keith, but another name that was thrown into the mix today was Mark van Bommel. Reports from the Netherlands that he's been offered the opportunity to talk to Celtic, but turned it down. What more can you tell?
That was the reason for the kind of late phone call there just before we came on air. It's basically confirmation from the Dutch end that the story's correct, that Van Bommel's camp believed that the opportunity to go to Celtic was there, it was on the table, and it was serious. But Van Bommel's son Ruben, I think he's £25 million winger, recently signed for PSV. He's done his knee in, a serious knee injury, and what we've been told from Holland is that he can't leave Holland at this minute in time when his son's going through the rehab, and he wants to be close to him and he wants to be there. So he's basically said all bets are off the table in terms of wanting to discuss potential moves at this moment in time. Again, interesting, isn't it? It all feeds into this. Would Martin O'Neill be seen then as someone that could hold the fort until the end of this season? And the more I think about it, and the fans on here will tell us, but I get the distinct impression a lot of Celtic fans are coming around to that idea that they might be perfectly happy with that. A walk down memory lane between now and May with Martin O'Neill and the DeLorean, and it feels like something I think the Celtic fans would buy into right now, and then it gives them plenty of time to get to the summer and say, right, thanks, Martin, that was brilliant, thoroughly enjoyed it. And here we go. Here's what the new man looks like, and here's what the progressive, younger future is for Celtic in the dugout. I think there's something in that. I don't know about you, Dan. I don't know about you, Scott, but I just feel like you can feel the mood changing a little bit, and I think Celtic fans are coming down to this romantic idea of 8-10 months of Martin O'Neill.
Well, you can see in the comments there, Rebel says give Martin O'Neill Maloney till the end of the season, in my opinion. What is your gut feeling, Scott? Do you think Martin O'Neill will be here a bit longer than we all think?
I certainly wouldn't rule it out. He's had a good start. As Jacko says, the fans are right behind it, certainly in the kind of short term. Look, I suppose it all depends on who the Celtic hierarchy target and who they want. Or when will they be available? I think I'm right. I don't know if you've heard Gordon Strachan kind of let it slip, or a good pal Tam Cowan was doing a kind of Q&A, I think, with Gordon Strachan, and I think Gordon kind of let it slip that he thought that the next Celtic manager wasn't available until December. No, whoever that might be, that kind of opened up a whole load of possibilities. Could it be Knutson at Bodo Glimt when the season finishes? Could it be a Craig Bellamy, depending on what happens with the World Cup games? So it depends on who their main targets are and when they become available. But certainly, if they go for somebody and there is a bit of a delay, we said it the other night. I mean, they're really fortunate, Celtic, in that regard, that they've got somebody like Martin O'Neill that can step in and keep the seat warm for the next guy. Because let's be honest, Rangers have had a few occasions where they've had to have an interim. And with all due respect, Barry Ferguson was a bit different last season. He came in with a couple of great results. But I'm thinking even Stevie Smith recently, Stephen Davis was another one. Really inexperienced young coaches coming in, albeit just for 1 or 2 games. Celtic are fortunate in the sense to have somebody of O'Neill's experience to come in and kind of, as I say, fill that gap till their man becomes available. So, but I certainly wouldn't rule it out, him staying longer. I know he was laughing yesterday talking about maybe not being here for the final in December. My gut feeling is he probably will be here for the final in December, and then it will kick on after that. And as I say, it might change in January for the window, or it might be, as Jacko says, to the end of the season. But I don't think fans would complain about that as long as they've got confidence that they'll get the right man in eventually.
Rab there saying that Kevin Muscat's available in December. In Scottish football, you never know. Time is getting away from us, guys. There was obviously the small matter of a Scotland squad today, and I know you were there to hear from Steve Clarke. Keith, shall we hear a little bit what the Scotland manager had to say?
Yep, interesting story in this.
I think we all need to remind ourselves that we would have been delighted to be in this position, coming into the last 2 games of the qualifying campaign, having already eliminated one of the major threats in the Greeks. So they can't be involved in the playoffs. They can't be involved in the shake-up for first place. That doesn't mean to say it's not going to be a difficult game in Greece, because I'm sure they'll be fired up to prove that they're better than Scotland. But we're in a good position. What we have to do is make sure that we get the result we need in Greece to make the Denmark game here a cup final. I think it's the same pressure, because before we played the very first game of the qualifying campaign, we were under pressure to put ourselves in a position to get to the World Cup. We're still there, we're still in a position where we can get to the World Cup, so the pressure's the same. I'm just as determined as I am to try and get to a World Cup, so we're going to give it everything in these 2 games, and hopefully middle of November we can all celebrate something good. Well, Craig's obviously got the amount of caps that he's got, so he's never let his country down. But Liam Kelly's an experienced goalkeeper. Scott Bain made a big decision to come out of Celtic and go and play regular first team football, which now that he's in the squad is probably a reward for that decision. Lawrence has been good, Kieran's been good, maybe gone off the boil a little bit in recent weeks, but that happens with young players. I had a good chat with Kieran last night. He's fine, he understands. He's a big one for the future. He can be a big one for now, because you never know, maybe a couple of injuries before next week and he could be back in the squad. Lawrence has hit the ground running again this season. His team are flying at the top of the league. Lawrence is getting his goals. If you need someone in the squad for goals, Lawrence is your man. I think his club will benefit very much if he keeps scoring goals and they keep winning games. He's shown that he can be a part of the Scotland squad before. He's been involved in a lot of squads. He's got the experience. I think these 2 games coming up, we're going to need experienced players, and Lawrence has certainly got that experience to help us.
I know we've got another week of domestic football, guys, before the international break. I'm already nervous and jittery about these 2 games. I mean, absolutely massive for us.
Huge. But I'm telling you now, I don't know who's writing Craig Gordon's scripts, but this is next level stuff. He'll turn 43 in December, right? He's about, because the only other 2 goalkeepers that have been listed are Liam Kelly and Scott Bain. And, you know, they're both competent goalkeepers. But they ain't Craig Gordon. They've got 4 caps between them. And I'm sorry, in no set of circumstances can you put the World Cup in the hands of the current Fall Cup number 1. Just that. And that's not meant to be insulting to Scott Bain. As I said, competent goalkeeper. Craig Gordon has got 82 caps, 82 caps under his belt. He's been completely frozen out. He can't get a game at his own club. He's sitting watching Hearts romp their way clear at the top of the table. The most exciting time ever to be at Tynecastle, and he's sitting with one of the best seats in the house to watch it. That'll frustrate the life out of him. And yet here he is at 43. This guy that Steve Clarke only 18 months ago said, "I'm sorry, Craig, I can't take you to the squad to the Euros." And the heartbreak of that, he said injuries that would have ended other people's careers, he keeps coming back. And at 42, just about 43, he's about to be thrown into these 2 games, which might just become the most memorable of his entire... And by the way, this is a guy, 25 years, a quarter of a century, this guy has been in goals. And right at the end comes this Cinderella man moment and the opportunity to... A 1 shutout. If Craig Gordon can keep a shutout in Athens, that in itself means that the game against Denmark at Hampden is a winner-takes-all shootout for a place in the World Cup. I don't know about you guys. I'm not going to bet against Craig Gordon. Sometimes in football, these things are almost directed by fate, and I think this is one of these moments that you might never forget. You know. And he'll probably get then bombed out the squad for the World Cup as well. but you know what I mean? Sometimes things just feel as if they're written in the stars. And with Angus Gunn injuring his knee, Craig Gordon looks to me to be absolutely the number 1 choice. Certainly for the game in Athens, and then we'll see what that performance looks like. But are you coming with me here? Are you buying this, Scott?
It's a bit like me and you, Jacko, following Scotland for the Euros. It's just written in the stars that we get to go together. Do you know what I mean? We get to jaunt around Mexico, America, and Canada together. I mean, that's
in the camper van.
The three of us, eh?
That's my Cinderella man.
Do you hear something there, Scott?
Nope.
It's good we can laugh at this.
Yeah.
The
It's
one
good that you can laugh at it.
Listen, there's a bit of pushback though in the comments about Craig Gordon. Bob says, no way we can start Craig Gordon against Greece and Denmark. It's an act of sheer folly. Scott says, good goalie, but it's high risk. Big Rab says, no way we can play Gordon. Hasn't played for months, no chance. Utter joke. But Rebel does point out, he's only 29, Keith. He's missed 5 years through injury. He was out for a long, long time.
Somebody's saying that it's high risk. I mean, it's high risk. No playing
Liam Kelly.
Aye, good point. Aye.
I mean, look, with all due respect, Liam Kelly, who I really like, is a good keeper. I mean, he's obviously not been playing games. So if that's the kind of criteria, then you're looking at Scott Bain, who is back in the squad, but first time in six years. Granted, he's playing well for Falkirk, newly promoted club, but I'm sorry, I agree with Jack.
You can't put that on them. You can't put it on them. You can't put that responsibility. It just wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be the right thing to do. I completely agree with what Scott just said there. Craig Gordon, of the three, is the low risk.
Exactly.
Because he's been there, he's done it. Yes, he's of a certain vintage now, but so was Dino Zoff, and he won the World Cup. We're not asking Craig Gordon to go and win the World Cup. We're asking, can he give us these two games? And I think the low risk approach is to go with him rather than put that glare of attention and pressure onto the shoulders of two guys that have got full caps between them.
You talk about being there, done it, Jacko. I mean, that's literal. He was in Athens when we were there, when Scotland won 1-0. When was that? That last game, the Nations League playoff. I mean, he played that night, didn't he? 1-0, McTominay penalty.
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm.
So, no, that's what we're going back to, and that's the kind of result we need. So, as you say, he's the low risk option. He's the guy that has literally been there and done it not that long ago. So, I'd be absolutely staggered if Craig Gordon doesn't start those three keepers.
Yeah, me too.
Well, in the comments, Chris, who's a regular viewer, he lives in Texas. He says, Dan, you can come and stay at the Fraser's Mansion House in Houston. Tell them to jam their camper van. So there you go. And that's a binding contract. So thanks for that, Chris. I appreciate it. And I tell you what, guys, we can talk about this more on our flight over to America. Plenty of time for the three of us to chat about Scotland and that.
Yeah.
I think for tonight, though, that brings us to the end of Monday night's Hotline Live. Thank you, as always, for all the comments. They've been absolutely brilliant, as usual. Keith, Scott, it's always a pleasure.
Cheers,
good evening, Dan.
And thank you for watching at home. We'll be back to do it all again at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Hope you can join us. Friday. Thanks for watching.